The prophet of incredible miracles, discover divine truths revealed in Scripture's hidden plan. In the reign of Jehoram, king of Israel, the widow of a man from the company of the prophets found herself in dire straits. The weight of her burdens was heavier than the sun-beaten ground of Shunem, for her husband, a humble servant of God, had recently passed. With his death, the sad reality of life pressed upon her like the dry wind from the desert. She was burdened with insurmountable debt, and her creditors were at the door, demanding what little she had left. Their threat loomed darkly. Her 2 sons were at risk of being taken as slaves to settle the debts owed. As despair clutched at her heart, she roamed the dusty streets of her village, tears streaming down her sun-kissed cheeks. She recalled the name of Elisha, a prophet of remarkable ability, known for calling on the Almighty on behalf of the oppressed and distressed. With mounting desperation, she had to seek him out, believing that this man of God might offer her a glimmer of hope. Her heart was a tumult of anxiety, and her voice trembled as she approached him, pleading, "O man of God, my husband is dead, and I have nothing but a little oil left. They are coming to take my sons to make them slaves." Elisha, sensing the depths of her anguish, responded gently, "What shall I do for you? Tell me, what have you in the house?" In that moment, his words sparked a flicker of faith, igniting hope in her weary spirit. "Your maidservant has nothing in the house but a jar of oil," she answered, her heart caught between despair and an air of newfound expectation. With unwavering confidence, Elisha instructed her, "Go, borrow empty vessels from all your neighbors, not just a few. Then you shall come in and shut the door behind yourself and your sons. Pour into all those vessels, and when one is full, set it aside." The unusual request astonished her. How could gathering empty vessels possibly alleviate her burdens? Yet, something within her encouraged trust. She set forth on this mission, her heart racing with anticipation and trepidation as she gathered every empty vessel in her reach. Returning to her humble home, she closed the door and began to pour from her single jar of oil. To her astonishment, the oil flowed endlessly into each vessel, filling one after another with abundance. Each filled vessel became a miracle, a testament to God's unwavering providence, cascading from her act of faith. With joyful exclamations, she called her sons to witness the wondrous sight, God's provision overflowing right before their eyes. However, joy turned to despair when one of her sons, who had returned to help, suddenly collapsed, lifeless on the floor. Panic erupted within her aching heart as she cried out, "Elisha! Elisha! My son is dead!" The air thickened with grief as she struggled to reconcile this new wave of sorrow with the miracle she had just experienced. In that moment of turmoil, her faith began to sink deep roots as she once more sought the prophet's help. Elisha rushed to her side, bringing hope amid darkness. Yet, as he drew closer, she was torn between the memory of divine provision she had just witnessed and the staggering grip of fresh grief that ensnared her. In this pivotal moment, she held tightly to her questions, wrestling with understanding God's purpose while yearning for his intervention once more. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As Elisha approached her home, the tension of the moment hung thick in the air, ready to reveal the next chapter of God's miraculous plan. Would her grief overshadow the hope she had just begun to embrace? With each heartbeat, she awaited revelation, desperately trusting in God's sovereignty, uncertain yet hopeful, as she pleaded for her son's life to be resurrected from death itself. Elisha entered the house with a solemnity that enveloped him like a cloak, aware of the weight of the moment. He found the widow kneeling by the lifeless form of her son, her tear-stained face twisted in a mix of grief and disbelief. "O woman of God," he said gently, "give me your son." With trembling fingers, she reached out, placing the boy into the prophet's embrace as she sobbed, "I cannot bear this loss. Will I be stripped of every loved one?" Elisha's heart ached for her as he cradled the child. He took him upstairs to the room where he usually stayed. There, he closed the door behind them, creating a private space for the sacred work that lay ahead. He laid the boy upon the bed, and there, where both life and death seemed starkly divided, Elisha lifted his hands to the heavens, calling upon the celestial judge. "O Lord, my God," he prayed, "let this child's soul return to him." As he lay upon the child, mouth to mouth, eyes to eyes, hands to hands, a warm breath stirred in the still room. It was a symbol of the prophetic calling, a moment saturated in celestial purpose. After 3 cycles of this divine encounter, the body stirred. The boy's heartbeat returned, slow at first, then stronger, resonating with the eternal pulse of life. Suddenly, the child opened his eyes, blinking in bewilderment. Elisha grasped his shoulders gently and lifted him to his feet. "The Lord has heard your mother's cries," he declared joyously, leading the boy back downstairs. When the widow saw her son standing alive before her, her heart erupted in praise. Falling at Elisha's feet, she exclaimed, "Now I know that you are a man of God, and that the word of the Lord in your mouth is the truth." Joy and relief showered upon her like rain upon a parched land, as she embraced her son tightly, their tears mingling in a cascade of gratitude and loveliness. Yet, even amidst this jubilant resurrection, an unnamed fear still clung to her heart, a fear born of her earlier desolation. The tensions within her swayed between delight and dread, prompting her to inquire of Elisha, "What shall I do now? Will the creditors still come for us?" Elisha, sensing her continued plight, reassured her. "Go, sell the oil you have gathered, and pay off your debts. Afterward, you and your sons can live on the rest." Each word brought layers of assurance, illustrating how God was not merely a rescuer from death, but also a provider of sustenance for the future. As she stepped out of the darkness of loss and uncertainty into the glow of restoration, the widow began to understand the depths of God's sovereign plan. Her journey of despair had transformed into a narrative of miraculous provision. While she still faced challenges ahead, she learned that she was never alone. God was intricately weaving her story together with threads of divine grace, yet, in the depths of her joy, a whisper of mystery lingered. But what lay beyond this moment? Might there be further trials to uncover His glory? As she pondered the new turn of her life, little did she know that God's unfolding plans would stretch far beyond her imagination, revealing a greater destiny not just for her but for generations to come. The path ahead twisted like a river running its course, and as each moment unfolded under God's watchful gaze, the widow embraced the uncertainty with hope, poised for whatever the Almighty had in store. And after these things, the word of the Lord came to Elisha, saying, "Go forth to the city of Shunem, for a great woman awaits you." Elisha rose early, his heart filled with purpose, for he understood that the Lord had chosen this woman, not for her wealth, but for her hospitality and willingness to serve. As he approached the home of the Shunammite woman, he was met by a warmth that filled the air, as she beckoned him inside with a graceful smile. "Man of God, come in," she urged, her voice soothing and kind. And he entered, and she provided him a place to rest, setting before him a meal fit for a guest of honor. Elisha recognized her kindness as an offering unto the Lord, for it was said in Proverbs, "A generous man will himself be blessed, for he shares his food with the poor." In due time, Elisha became a frequent visitor, known to that hospitality as a true blessing in her house. One day, after enjoying her steadfast generosity, Elisha spoke to his servant Gehazi, "What can be done for this woman? You have observed her kindness, what does she lack?" Gehazi, ever observant, responded, "Indeed, my lord, she has no child, and her husband is old." Elisha's heart was stirred, for he understood that the barren shall bear, as it was written in Isaiah, "Sing, O barren, you who have not borne. Break forth into singing and cry aloud." So, Elisha called for the woman and found her at the threshold of her door. "About this season, next year, you shall embrace a son," he declared with divine assurance. The woman fell to the ground before him in disbelief, exclaiming, "My lord, do not lie to your servant." Yet, as the sun followed the moon, true was the word of the Lord. In due time, the prophecy unfolded, and she conceived and bore a son, bringing forth joy where sorrow had once tread. 2 years passed, and her son grew, remarkable in the eyes of those around him. One fateful day, the boy went out to his father among the reapers. "My head! My head!" he cried, clutching his brow in agony. His father, filled with distress, sent him back to his mother, where he lay upon her lap until noon, and then he died. The weight of grief pressed upon her, but in that moment, hope flickered like a candle against the winds of despair. She laid her son in Elisha's bed and went to find the prophet. "It is well," she told her husband, as she prepared to ride forth. Faith still lingered within her, steadfast and unwavering like Hannah's heart before the Lord. When she reached Elisha upon Mount Carmel, he saw her from afar, and he sent Gehazi to inquire of her well-being. "Is it well with you? Is it well with your husband? Is it well with the child?" When she answered, "It is well," her heart concealed the burden she bore. Finally coming before Elisha, she grasped his feet and revealed her anguish. "Did I ask a son of my Lord? Did I not say, 'Do not deceive me'?" With eyes filled with compassion, Elisha then instructed Gehazi, "Take my staff in your hand and run ahead, do not greet anyone on the way and do not delay in saluting anyone." He himself would follow, for the power of God would soon manifest in profound ways. As they moved forward, she clung to Elisha, knowing her son's life was bound to him and the God whom he served. Would there be a reversal of fate? A moment of divine power to stem the tide of death, much like the earlier moment wrought at the widow's home. Thus, the Lord prepared to unveil his glory, revealing the depths of his sovereign plan and merciful power, for this was another chapter woven into the rich tapestry of his divine purpose. Little did she know how intricately her story would entwine with the greater narrative of hope and resurrection to come. And Gehazi ran on ahead, the staff in his hand, as the breath of the prophet urged him forth with urgency. The Shunammite woman, unwavering in her trust, followed closely behind Elisha. A heavy silence lingered upon the land, for the air was thick with expectation. A divine moment was at hand. As Gehazi approached the child's lifeless form, he laid the staff upon his face, but there was no stirring. The child remained still, as lifeless as the cool evening air. Gehazi returned to meet Elisha and said, "The child has not awakened." Hearing this, Elisha continued to the house, his heart burdened yet hopeful. Upon entering, he found the boy sprawled upon the bed, and the woman's eyes, filled with desperation, searched his countenance, seeking the mercy of heaven. Elisha entered the room, and shutting the door behind him, he turned his gaze toward the child. With solemnity, he approached the lifeless body, and as he knelt beside him, he began to pray fervently to the God of Israel. He lay upon the child, his mouth to his mouth, his eyes to his eyes, and his hands upon his hands. The warmth of life against his body was not just a physical connection but a spiritual cry for resurrection. He could feel the weight of the divine promise resting upon him. As he pressed closer, the boy's body began to warm beneath him, the pulse of life fluttering like a chamber of hope igniting within the once cold shell. Elisha rose and paced the room, seeking the Lord in fervent prayer, allowing the air to fill with the sound of his heart's longing for the boy's restoration. Once more, he returned to the child. Again, he lay upon him, repeating the heavenly invocation. And suddenly, the boy sneezed 7 times, and opened his eyes. Life, as though commanded by the voice of God, surged anew, a testament to the miraculous power of the Almighty. Elisha called to Gehazi, "Call the Shunammite woman." Gehazi hurried and brought her forth. When she entered, Elisha said, "Take up your son." She fell at his feet, bowing down to the ground, overwhelmed by unexplainable gratitude. "Your word is true, O man of God," she exclaimed, as she took her son into her arms, savoring the reality of his breath, a gift restored. The household rejoiced, for in a single moment, what had been lost was now returned. The hand of God had moved mightily, and all who beheld it knew that a prophet spoke with the very voice of heaven. But in the subdued echo of their joy, a shadow loomed, for the Lord had a greater plan still to unfold. Elisha, sensing the urgency of the season, prepared to leave Shunem. "The time has come," he spoke softly, "for the land shall be visited with trial, famine upon the earth. Yet, know this, my God does not abandon his people. Trust in him." As his words hung in the air, the Shunammite woman felt within her the stirrings of another revelation yet to be uncovered, a glimpse into the sovereign tapestry that God was weaving. Thus, unbeknownst to her, the patterns of her life were intricately linked to the greater purpose of the Most High, for the whisper of God's overarching narrative was about to resound even more profoundly. Little did she know that her story was not finished, a destiny awaited, pregnant with significance among the people of Israel. Would her faith stand strong as divine trials erupted near? Only in the days to come would the faithfulness of God be fully realized and revealed. As Elisha departed from the house of the Shunammite woman, a weight rested upon his heart, a sense of the coming tumult that would soon break over the land. The horizon seemed to shift, drawing near a season where faith would be tested, and the true character of the people would be revealed. "Come to me, O Israel," he proclaimed, "for the Lord weeps for his chosen. Behold, the day of reckoning approaches, a time when the heavens shall withhold their rain and the bounty of the earth shall fail." The Shunammite woman, whose heart was still warmed by the miracle wrought within her home, listened with ever-deepening faith. She sensed that the man of God spoke not just of a physical famine but of a famine of spirit, an absence that could only be renewed through repentance and return to the Lord. Unbeknownst to her, in the distance beyond the hills, a great army was gathering, a threat to the peace of her people. The cities would tremble, and the cries of the hungry would rise as smoke from the ashes of shattered hopes. Yet, in the hearts of the faithful remained a glimmer of hope, a promise of restoration. Elisha, with steadfast resolve, sought to prepare them, saying, "Let the people of God draw near, let them gather to hear the word of the Lord." In this upcoming trial, truth shall be revealed and righteousness shall find its voice. As he spoke those words, it was as if the Spirit stirred throughout the land, igniting a hunger among the people for truth and understanding. They began to converge upon the prophet, the anticipation palpable like the electrified air before a storm. Among them was a young boy named Obadiah, who came running to Elisha, whispering in breathless urgency, "O man of God, we have heard that trouble approaches. What shall we do?" The fire of desperation flickered in his eyes, mirrored later only by the heavy dread resting upon the shoulders of those who would hear. Elisha, recognizing the anguish that dwelled in Obadiah's spirit, knelt before him, bringing his gaze to the boy's level. "Fear not, little one, for the hand of God is upon his faithful. Pray for the rain to come, do not lose heart. Your cries will ascend as incense to heaven." At those words, the hearts of the gathered people swelled with faith, even amidst their circumstances. They began to call out to the God of Israel, lifting their voices in unison. Their prayers became a rising banner of hope, pleading for mercy as the prophet raised his staff toward the heavens. Then, as the clouds gathered ominously above, a thunderous sound echoed in the distance, a signal of the approaching tempest. Yet, the Shunammite woman, standing off to the side with her son cradled in her arms, felt a resolve born anew. "My faith is in the God of miracles," she whispered, as she clasped her child tightly. "He has already bestowed life where death reigned. He shall provide for those who trust in him." And so, they waited, as the fierce winds began to blow, and the first drops of rain fell like gentle mercy from the skies, mixing with the fervent prayers of the people below. Elisha, amidst the gathering storm, felt the pulse of God's sovereign plan, realizing that even in famine, the Lord was revealing his hand amongst his people. What would come of the trials yet to unfold? Would their faith remain unshaken even in the face of adversity? Uncertainty loomed large, but a greater truth awaited, hidden within the depths of divine purpose, for among the storms of life, the faithful would witness the fulfillment of a promise, one that transcended mere physical sustenance or relief. And as the rain began to pour and the hearts aligned with heaven, the seeds were being sown for a mighty awakening, a resurrection of faith that would echo through generations. Thus, the stage was set for a revelation of God's glory that would surpass understanding, for what lay ahead held both peril and promise, interwoven in the rich tapestry of his eternal plan. As the rain began to fall, its soothing cadence echoed amidst the cries of the faithful. Elisha, positioned high upon the hill, watched as the clouds released their burden, the first drops mingling with the dust of the earth, awakening the dormant seeds beneath. He turned to the people, his voice steady and filled with fervor, "Children of God, lift your eyes. The heavens respond to your cries, an answer that is both judgment and grace." The gathered throng swayed in the moment, carried by the rhythm of falling rain, their praises ascending alongside each drop as an offering to the Almighty. Yet, amidst their joy stirred a deep unrest, for the distant rumble of thunder mirrored the approaching army. With each heart filled with hope, dread lingered nearby, whispering of destruction that in the inner circle, the Shunammite woman remained steadfast, her son nestled against her bosom, sensing her strength renew with every heartbeat. "Elisha, man of God," she implored, "what shall we do when our foes encroach upon this blessing?" Elisha, sensing the weight of her question, turned his gaze toward the people. "The Lord will provide a way," he declared, "even in the valley of shadows, his light will not falter. Take courage, for our deliverance draws near." With those words, he raised his staff, and a brilliant flash of lightning illuminated the skies. The people gasped, for in that moment, they understood that divine intervention was imminent. Yet, as the rain fell heavier, a gathering of fear bloomed in many hearts. "Can we indeed trust in the Lord?" whispered a voice from within the crowd. Elisha, hearing their murmurings, pressed forward, his heart heavy with the burden of encouragement. "O Israel, have you forgotten the works of the Lord? Did he not part the sea for our forefathers? Did he not bring down the walls of Jericho? His faithfulness endures even in the unknown." As he proclaimed these truths, a rumbling sound echoed, deeper than the thunder and approach of mighty horses, their hooves drumming upon the ground like an ominous march of fate. The people turned, fear flashing across their faces like lightning against the darkened sky. "But, O my people," Elisha continued, undeterred, "remember the promises made through our ancestors, remember the covenant. The Lord fights for those who are called by his name. Hold fast to your hope, for the battle belongs to God." Suddenly, a vision broke open in the prophet's heart, a surreal clarity amidst the chaos. "Gather your families," he instructed, "and anoint your doorposts, that the angel of the Lord may pass over and protect you." As the people began to act in obedience to the word of the prophet, the Shunammite woman's heart raced. Her spirit soared with the realization that they were participants in a great unfolding drama, a divine narrative woven by the hands of their Creator. The work of faith had begun, yet hidden within Elisha's heart, a deeper longing stirred. "Lord," he prayed silently, "what shall be the outcome of this battle? What purpose lies in the storm that rages upon us?" The winds howled and the rains poured down, drowning out his thoughts, but the whisper of heaven drew near, urging him to see beyond the storm. Battles were not won solely through swords or arrows, they were won in the hearts and minds of men and women who chose to trust in the unfailing goodness of God. Would they stand firm? Would they rise as one in unity and strength? Little did they know, the true test of their faith was soon at hand, and within the tempest, a revelation awaited that would ignite a flame of hope across generations. And so it was, as the rain fell and the darkness encroached the air thick with expectancy, that the faithful found themselves on the cusp of a great awakening, a dawning that would reshape not only their lives but ripple through the annals of history, revealing God's sovereign plan hidden in the heart of every trial. As the rain continued to pour, the air grew thick with anticipation and fear. Elisha, standing firm upon the hill, felt the weight of heaven's burden transform into a fierce resolve within him. He looked down at the people, their faces illuminated momentarily by flashes of lightning like divine signals in the gloom. "Fear not, for the Lord your God is with you," he proclaimed with a voice imbued with both authority and compassion. "Trust in his mighty hand, for he shall deliver us." The Shunammite woman stood firm, her heart entwined with hope and determination. "O man of God," she cried out, "shall we not prepare ourselves for the battle that approaches? We cannot wait idly by." The winds howled around them, but her spirit remained anchored. "If your heart is steadfast, then arm yourselves with faith." Elisha responded, his eyes gleaming with a divine fervor. "Gather not weapons of war, but instruments of praise. Let your voices rise like the tides, for the Lord delights in the song of his people." As the throng began to sing, a wave of courage swept over them. The melodies twined among the falling rain, rising like a fragrant incense to the heavens. Elisha stepped forward once more, feeling a rush of the Spirit as he raised his staff, the symbol of God's authority. "We shall not meet our enemies with fear, instead, we meet them with the worship on our lips, the songs of deliverance in our hearts. And so they sang, their voices harmonizing with the thunder, declaring the majesty of their God. The Lord is our strength and our shield. He is our fortress and deliverer. In that sacred moment, Elisha felt the presence of the Almighty thicken around them, a tangible evidence of divine favor. The rain and thunder became a testament of God's fury against their enemies. The Shunammite woman, no longer gripped by doubt, raised her arms to the heavens and cried, "O Lord, remember your covenant with us. Do not let us fall into the hands of our foes." As their voices harmonized, the earth itself seemed to respond. Suddenly, in the heart of the storm, there erupted a sound more profound than thunder or the rushing wind, a tremor that vibrated through the very ground beneath their feet. The hearts of the people quaked, yet their eyes opened wide with wonder, for they perceived this was not an ordinary rumble but an echo of the power of the God of Israel. Elisha heard it too, the whisper of the Lord announcing a great turning of events. "Behold!" he called out, "the Lord is stirring the hearts of our enemies against one another, they shall be confused, and they shall fight among themselves." As darkness enveloped the land, unseen from the heights, the army encamping against them began to shift as though led by some divine hand. Fear and confusion took root among those who sought to steal the very promise of God from his people. The Shunammite woman clasped her son tighter, her lips pressed together in silent awe. "What is this great wonder, O Elisha?" she whispered, her spirit awakening to the unfolding majesty of God's plan. With each note of their praise, the hearts of the faithful surged with a sense of unshakable trust. "Wait for the Lord, for he is our deliverance," Elisha cried. "His promise is as steadfast as the morning sun, and the dawn shall break upon our trials." Amidst the roaring winds and the downpour, an echo resonated through the hearts of the people, a divine revelation transforming fear into fortitude, reminding them of the ancient truths. The air thickened with expectancy as they realized they were smack dab in the midst of the miraculous. Little did they know, this unfolding might would not only challenge the immediate threat before them but also herald the beginning of something far greater, an inheritance reserved for generations to lay claim upon. The triumph of their faith would ripple through the ages, a testament to the unfailing love of their Creator. And so, the stage was set, the heavens roared with divine intent, and in the hearts of the faithful, the seed of courage took root, preparing them for the unimaginable revelation that lay tangled within the heart of their trial. The time was approaching for God's plan to be gloriously unveiled, revealing a mystery that would ensure his people forever knew his mighty hand. As the storm raged, the voices of the faithful surged like a flood, their praises crashing upon the heavens. Elisha, at the head of the congregation, watched as the very clouds above mirrored their spirit, rumbling ominously yet resonating with the chorus of trust rising from below. In the midst of the uproar, he knew a divine orchestration was at play, unseen but palpably felt. "Look!" he warned, his voice steady like a rock amidst the tempest. "Behold the hand of the Lord. He is working even now to confound our foes." The gathering murmured, their spirits alight with a mix of fear and anticipation. The Shunammite woman stood at the forefront, her heart inflamed with a tenacity born from the remembrance of God's past deliverances. "O man of God," she declared boldly, "if the Lord is turning the hearts of our enemies, let us prepare ourselves to witness his might. Our deliverance is nigh." And so, they sang louder, crafting their praises as weapons of spiritual warfare, declaring over and over, "For the Lord is good, his mercy endures forever." They echoed the truth found in Psalm 136, their voices mingling with the rustling leaves and the howling winds. Suddenly, amidst the tumult, Elisha perceived movement upon the ridge. Shadows danced erratically in the flickering light, silhouettes cast by the torches of the enemy approaching. Yet, rather than dread, Elisha felt the stirring of the Spirit, igniting within him a fervor that could only come from the Almighty. "Do not be afraid," he encouraged, lifting his staff as a banner. "For the Lord of hosts shall go before us, and our enemies shall quiver in the face of his glory." The Shunammite woman, emboldened by Elisha's words, clasped her son's hand tightly. "O God of Israel," she cried, her heart soaring, "may your hand be upon us for good. May your might be revealed as we stand upon your promises." As the songs continued, a strange occurrence began to unfold. The chaos within the enemy ranks erupted into disorder. Confusion fell upon them like night, and their cries, once menacing, turned to disarray. They stumbled over one another as their sight was clouded, and in their fright, they turned their swords upon their own. Elisha, witnessing this divine twist, raised his staff and spoke, "The God of our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has turned the tide. Let us not keep quiet, but proclaim his greatness. Our deliverance comes not by our might but by his hand alone." At that proclamation, the people raised their voices higher, their faith becoming the catalyst for God's intervention. "We are not abandoned," they shouted, their unity magnifying the power of their collective faith. "Our God is a God of battles." Echoes of praises reverberated across the valley, reaching the darkened encampment of their foes like arrows piercing the gloom. The Lord, it seemed, had indeed set ambushes against the enemies of Israel, just as prophets of old had declared. The ground trembled beneath the weight of the divine response, and in that moment, Elisha's gaze shifted to the horizon. He could sense something significant was approaching, a revelation unfurling like the dawn of a new day. "The Creator of heaven and earth will pour forth his blessings upon us. Prepare your hearts, for what comes next shall transcend what we currently understand." The hearts of the people swelled with expectation, for they sensed a great unveiling was near. With every note they sang, it became clearer, not merely deliverance from their adversaries, but a profound truth awaiting discovery, one that would weave through future generations like a cornerstone of faith. As the last echoes of their song reverberated, the shadows shifted again, this time not in confusion, but as the might of the Lord approached to secure their victory. Elisha's spirit leaped within him, for the final act of this unfolding drama was at hand, and he knew it was destined not just for their day but for all who sought the face of God. "Stay steadfast," he shouted, "for the truth of the Lord shall soon be revealed, and hidden within this day lies a purpose beyond our imagining." Without knowing, the people stood upon the precipice of revelation, where the sovereign plan of the Almighty was poised to explode into their reality, heralding both victory and a mystery not yet fully unveiled. Hope ignited, as the scene blurred into divine anticipation, a promise filled with promise and purpose unfolding for all who would remain faithful. And behold, as the jubilant stirrings of praise echoed against the heavens, the earth beneath their feet began to tremble with divine energy. Elisha felt a deep stirring, a whisper of promise from the Lord. With the sun setting low, casting a golden hue over the scene, the atmosphere thickened with expectation. "Look," he turned to the crowd, his voice like a clarion call amidst the fading light, "for the salvation of the Lord is at hand. Fear not, for the God of Israel ignites a fire that cannot be quenched." And as he spoke, a radiant light burst forth upon the hill, shattering the shadows that had held the enemy captive. The soldiers, previously filled with the spirit of confusion, halted in their tracks, their eyes drawn upward, terrified by the brilliance they could not comprehend. "Onward, faithful ones," Elisha urged, motioning for them to advance. "For the Lord is a warrior, and he fights for us. Do not falter, for he will deliver us from our troubles." The Shunammite woman, emboldened by the miraculous vision, raised her voice above the crowd, proclaiming boldly, "O God, turn the hearts of all men, that they might know your steadfast love." Her faith ignited a wave of resolve among the people, who rallied with cries of affirmation. The rising chant of the people resonated through the valley, an anthem of faith mirroring Psalm 34 verse 3, "O magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together." It was then Elisha heard the voice of God, reverberating through him like thunder, "Fear not, for I am with you. Behold, I will do a new thing, and you shall see it before your very eyes." As they surged forward, the darkness around the enemy encampment seemed to lift, the chaos of confusion transformed into a great light. The soldiers could see nothing but a sea of divine glory. They turned upon one another, stricken with panic, swords clanging as they sought refuge from a foe they could not perceive. With every moment, Elisha beheld the power of the Almighty in action, reminding him of the words foretold in Joel 2 verse 32, that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be delivered. And so he lifted his hands, declaring salvation over the land in the name of the Lord of hosts. Panic gripped the enemy's heart, and they fled in disarray from the battlefield, abandoning their camps and even their weapons, as the faithful surged forward enveloped not just in victory but in the undeniable presence of God. But Elisha, in his spirit, felt the weight of something more significant unfolding. In the distance, like a weathered tapestry unraveling, God's sovereign plan was being woven among them. See, Elisha spoke again to the crowd, this day is not just about our deliverance, but God is revealing his ultimate purposes. We are but instruments in his hands, and this struggle manifests his glory. A hush fell upon the crowd as they paused, understanding dawning upon them. The Lord was not merely delivering them from their adversaries, he was establishing his covenant anew. He was igniting a revival that would echo down through generations, and at that moment, they could feel a shift in the air, promising more than mere victories over earthly enemies. Elisha raised his staff high, proclaiming with conviction, "Prepare your hearts. A new age of revelation dawns upon us, for this is just the beginning. Remain faithful, for even as we witness this deliverance, greater mysteries lie ahead, waiting for those who seek his face." Thus, hope soared high, and in that moment, they found themselves on the lips of destiny, teetering on the edge of a revelation that held the power to change not just their immediate circumstances, but the trajectory of a nation, for the heart of God was about to be unveiled, and they were chosen to witness a tapestry of divine grace weaving through the tapestry of time. As the light dimmed into twilight, the air around them crackled with the promise of God's sovereign plan yet to be fully revealed. In the days that followed, the victory over the invading forces rippled through the land like a mighty wave, revitalizing the hearts of the Israelites. The Shunammite woman, with her son clasped securely in her arms, felt the tremors of gratitude surging within her. God had not only kept her family intact but had transformed her despair into a canvas of revelation. Elisha, filled with renewed purpose, journeyed amidst the people, fanning the flames of faith ignited by the miraculous deliverance they had witnessed. His voice resounded with authority as he proclaimed, "This victory is but a glimpse of the greater works that the Lord will perform among his people. Behold, for he will reveal himself in ways undiscovered, unfold mysteries of his heart that shall echo through generations." The Shunammite woman watched as families gathered to recount their experiences, sharing tales of faith that interwove with divine action. A spirit of unity enveloped them, brothers and sisters forging a bond in assurance that God was ever faithful, even in tumultuous times. As the reports of providence flourished, she felt a stirring within her soul, a call not merely to rejoice but to prepare her heart for what the Lord might do next. "Let us not grow complacent," she spoke to her neighbors, "for the Lord's hand does not rest in one moment. He beckons us to seek him, to thirst for righteousness and to serve one another in love." Her words bore the weight of experience, for she understood that faith must be nurtured in both celebration and challenge. Elisha sensed the convergence of purpose, the mood shifting towards expectation, as he shared the word of the Lord. "O people of Israel, let your hearts not waver. Gather your families, your friends, let us position ourselves for the outpouring of God's Spirit. For surely, the Lord has not only delivered us from physical strife, but he seeks to bring forth a revival of hearts, a rediscovery of his covenant among his chosen." And so, as Elisha called forth a gathering, the skies above began to shift, gathering clouds like a tapestry woven with intention. The heavens were preparing to pour out blessings anew. As the faithful gathered on bended knees, rain fell not just upon the earth but upon their hearts, saturating the thirsty soil. In that moment, a great wave of prayer ascended into the heavens, and the Shunammite woman led her family, her voice bold against the swell of unity. "Lord, let your kingdom come. Let your will be done in our lives. We invite the outpouring of your Spirit to revive us, to refresh our faith." Her declaration ignited a chorus, swelling across the fields as families joined in fervent prayer, voicing the longing of their hearts intertwined with divine purpose. "O God of Israel, may your grace compel us into action, let our voices rise in praise, let our hearts be filled with compassion." As they prayed earnestly, the heavens opened wide, and the Spirit of God descended among them as a thick mist, enveloping them in divine presence. A holy hush fell over the gathering, the wind carried the promise of change, and the faithful sensed that they were on the brink of something immense. Elisha raised his hands to the sky, his heart aligned with the Spirit's stirring, proclaiming, "Hear me, O people of God. In this hour, the Lord is igniting a fresh outpouring. Hearts shall be awakened, and his presence will bear fruit in the lives of those who seek him." Miracles began to unfold among them, as healings transpired and revelations burst forth in the hearts of the faithful. The crowd was swept by the tide of divine love, those who had wandered returned, drawn by the magnetic pull of grace renewing their spirits. In that sacred atmosphere, the Shunammite woman sensed her purpose deepen. She was to be an instrument of his grace, sharing her testimony of deliverance, affirming God's faithfulness to all who would listen. With her son by her side, she became a beacon of hope, her faith a stirring testament to the Almighty's covenant love, and so it unfolded, revival sweeping through the towns and villages of Israel, drawing the hearts of many back to the Lord. The nomads, the weary, and the lost began to make their way home, drawn by stories of miraculous provision and unfailing love. People flocked to the prophet of God, seeking to hear the truths that flowed like a pure stream from his lips. Little did they know that their testimonies, compounding through time, would serve as a fertile ground for the next generations, an assurance of God's steadfast love prepared to meet every challenge with divine sustenance. And in the fullness of the Lord's timing, the Shunammite woman marveled at how her journey, once laced with grief, had become a narrative of hope that would resonate with ages to come. The trials endured and the victories won were to be etched in the annals of Israel's faith, illuminating hearts forever drawn to the wonder of God. As the sun set on this new chapter of their lives, Elisha proclaimed, "Let this be known to the world, the God of Israel reigns. He is near to the broken-hearted and breathes life into the lifeless. Trust in him, O people, for his promises never fail." As the darkness fell, it was no longer a cloak of doubt hanging overhead but an expanse where dreams were stirred to life in faith's embrace. And so, the legacy of the Shunammite woman continued, a thread woven into the grand narrative of God's sovereign grace. Now, dear friends, you need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word and the incredible stories it holds. Your journey in faith will be enriched, and you'll never miss these powerful biblical messages. Leave a like now to help spread God's Word through the algorithm, making his truths accessible to more hearts yearning for hope. Please comment your spiritual reflections and share how this biblical story has impacted your faith journey. Your voice matters in this community of believers, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear about God's truth and faithfulness. Only true believers understand the importance of supporting biblical content through these actions to reach more souls for Christ. Let us work together to echo his glorious message across the earth.